The illusion of control life can often feel like a never-ending whirlwind. No matter how much we try to prepare ourselves, we are constantly caught off guard by the unpredictable nature of existence. The world around us seems to be in perpetual motion, and every day brings with it a new challenge, a new disappointment, or a new event that forces us to react. We find ourselves constantly at the mercy of forces beyond our control. Traffic jams, work, stress, relationship, conflicts, health issues, and so much more. We believe that by controlling the people, situations, and outcomes around us, we can ensure our peace and happiness. We try to control our environment, our relationships, and even our emotions. Do you try to force the situation to bend to your will, only to find that it resists even harder? We believe that if we can just manage everything perfectly, we will be happy. But the reality is that perfection is a myth. Life is inherently uncertain, and it unfolds in ways we cannot always anticipate. It's like trying to control the wind or the tides. No matter how hard we try, we can't force them to follow our commands. Most of us are blind to the fact that we are constantly reacting from unconscious beliefs, fears, and expectations. It means we stop relying on external outcomes to determine our happiness. We shift from being reactive, powerless individuals to proactive, empowered creators of our own reality. When we stop focusing on changing the world around us, we begin to change ourselves. We develop the mental strength to remain calm and centered no matter what happens. This is the essence of the key to freedom is waking up to these unconscious patterns and consciously choosing how we respond. Think about the last time you tried to control a situation to the point where it caused you stress, whether it was planning every detail of an event, trying to make sure everything in your life went perfectly, or controlling how others behave. In these moments, we create an immense amount of pressure for ourselves. We put ourselves in a constant state of vigilance, always on edge, always anticipating what's next, rather than living fully in the present. When you stop measuring your worth based on external accomplishments, opinions, and outcomes, you begin to understand that you are enough, just as you are. You no longer need to control every aspect of your life to feel secure. You begin to experience true freedom from the anxiety of always needing to be in control, freedom from the fear of uncertainty, and freedom from the emotional roller coaster of seeking external validation. The moment we stop fighting against life's unpredictability, we become free. We stop enjoying the journey because we are too focused on the destination. Life becomes about achieving the next goal, fixing the next problem, and gaining the next approval. What if you stopped trying to make everything perfect, and instead embraced the imperfections as part of the beauty of life? What if you stopped judging yourself based on external achievements and began to see your worth as intrinsic, as something that does not need to be validated by others? We begin to measure our worth by what we do and what we have, rather than who we are. But the problem with this is that when we tie our self-worth to achievements or approval, we will always be at the mercy of external factors. Our worth becomes fragile, dependent on whether things go according to plan, or whether people validate us. But once we begin to understand that we are the architects of our own emotional state, we stop being at the mercy of external circumstances. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering the illusion that we have control over everything. It means trusting that even when things don't go our way, we will still be okay. The freedom comes from knowing that life, in all its unpredictability, is not something we need to fear, but something we can navigate with grace. We become the creators of our experience, and that, ultimately, is where true freedom lies. We fear uncertainty, we fear failure, and most of all, we fear losing our sense of stability. For many, the need for control is not just about managing external events. It is about trying to maintain a sense of safety and predictability in an otherwise chaotic world. We build our lives around routines, expectations, and the illusion that if we can just organize everything neatly, we can avoid the pain of life's unpredictability. The key is in how we perceive and respond to the world. The more we learn to control our inner world the way we think, feel, and react, the more we realize that we have the power to shape our reality. When we do this, we stop being controlled by life's unpredictable nature. Instead, we begin to see that our true power lies in our ability to master our own reactions. And when we try to control life's unpredictable nature, we create unnecessary stress, anxiety, and pain for ourselves. These reactions are a sign that the need for control has taken root in your mind. True power is not found in controlling every outcome. It is found in controlling our perception of those outcomes. Surrender is about accepting that certain things are beyond our power, and instead of resisting them, we embrace them. This does not mean we stop taking action, or that we stop pursuing our goals. It simply means that we stop clinging to the illusion of control and start flowing with the natural rhythms of life. When we surrender to life as it is, we find freedom. We stop fighting against the current and start moving with it. The world may not always align with our expectations, but how we interpret it is entirely within our control. This shift in perception is not about suppressing our emotions or pretending that life is perfect. It's about developing the ability to respond to life's challenges with resilience and clarity. It's about recognizing that we are not victims of circumstances, but active participants in shaping how we experience the world. You're not responding to the situation itself, you're reacting to your inability to control it. The external world, the situation at hand, is often neutral. What creates your suffering is not what happens, but the meaning you assign to it and the resistance you bring to it. We think that if we can just get everything to go our way, if we can just avoid pain, disappointment, and failure, then we'll finally be happy. But the truth is far more complex. The external world seems to have a way of shaping our emotions, determining our mood, and even deciding the course of our day. In these moments, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that life is happening to us, that we are simply victims of circumstance. A car cuts us off in traffic, and we feel the anger rise within us, as if we've been personally attacked. A colleague makes a passive-aggressive comment, and suddenly our whole day is clouded with frustration. A stranger gives us a disapproving look, and we begin to doubt ourselves. The world seems to have the power to dictate how we feel and how we experience life. This way of living, constantly reacting to the external world, creates an illusion of control. Despite our best efforts, we cannot control everything. In fact, the more we try to control, the more resistance we create. The harder we push against life, the more life seems to push back. And when things don't go according to our plans, we often experience feelings of failure, frustration, and powerlessness. The mistake we make is thinking that these external outcomes are what matter most. In reality, it is our internal response to these outcomes that dictates our well-being. The key to peace isn't found in external control, but in internal mastery. Take a moment to reflect on this. When you encounter obstacles, how do you react? Do you get frustrated, angry, or anxious? This resistance comes from the belief that life should conform to our expectations. Instead of focusing on the world and its uncontrollable aspects, we can shift our focus inward. Consider the concept of surrender not as a passive resignation, but as an active choice to let go of the need for control. Jung's words on unconscious reactions hold a deep truth. Our inner world shapes our outer experience. It is important to understand that letting go of the need for control does not mean we abandon responsibility or effort. When we stop reacting, we reclaim our power. This shift in perspective is not an overnight process. It requires awareness, patience, and practice. The power of letting go, the struggle for control, is in many ways a reflection of our deepest fears. But the truth is that life will never be fully predictable, and the harder we try to make it so, the more anxious and stressed we become. This type of living is exhausting. When we are constantly focused on controlling external circumstances, we miss out on the present moment. One of the greatest freedoms we can experience is to let go of the need to control. Imagine this. Instead of trying to control how people respond to you, how situations unfold, or how your life looks at any given moment, what if you simply accepted things as they are? This is the power of acceptance, accepting not only life's unpredictability, but also accepting yourself as you are. Shadow work and inner mastery. As we continue our journey towards self-mastery, we begin to understand that much of our behavior, our emotional responses, and even our life experiences are shaped by unconscious forces we are often not fully aware of. These forces are rooted in the parts of ourselves that we have not yet fully faced, the parts of us that we avoid or deny, often out of fear or discomfort. These hidden parts of ourselves make up what Carl Jung called the shadow, the unconscious aspects of our psyche that we push away, often because they challenge our sense of self or expose vulnerabilities we prefer to ignore. When something triggers us, whether it's a sharp comment, an unexpected setback, or a moment of perceived failure, rather than immediately reacting, we pause. We ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotional response trying to tell me about myself? Inner mastery is not about controlling every aspect of our lives, or pretending that we never experience negative emotions. We start to see how our beliefs, fears, and unresolved wounds shape the way we respond to the world. The people, situations, and circumstances we encounter are not random. They are mirrors that reflect the parts of ourselves that we have not yet fully accepted or integrated. We begin to see the world not as a place where we are victims of circumstance, but as a place where everything we encounter is an opportunity for growth and there will be times when we are confronted with difficult emotions, painful memories, or uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It is about recognizing that we are all works in progress, and that the journey of self-discovery is the greatest adventure we can undertake. But these are the moments when we have the greatest potential for growth. By embracing our shadow, by integrating it into our consciousness, we move closer to becoming the people we are truly meant to be. Every challenge, every trigger, and every emotional reaction is an opportunity to understand ourselves more deeply and to heal the parts of us that are still in need of love and acceptance. When we react negatively to someone or something, it is often because that person or situation is reflecting something within us that we have not yet fully acknowledged or healed. We begin to recognize that our triggers are not the problem, but rather the invitation to look deeper, to uncover the hidden beliefs and emotions that lie beneath the surface. You might have a deep-seated belief that you are not worthy of respect, or that others will always treat you poorly. When someone behaves rudely toward you, it activates that belief, and you respond with anger or frustration. But the truth is that the rudeness is not the cause of your distress. It is the mirror that reflects the part of you that still believes you are unworthy of respect. Once you recognize this, you can begin to shift your perception, healing the wound within and no longer reacting to the behavior of others in the same way. This is when true self-mastery begins. When we stop blaming the world for our emotional reactions and start taking responsibility for the part of us that is being triggered. It is about developing the ability to observe our emotions without being controlled by them. It is about recognizing that we are not our emotions, our thoughts, or our reactions. We are the observer of them. When we realize this, we begin to reclaim our power and our ability to shape our reality. Often, what we discover is that the trigger is not the real issue. The real issue lies in the deeper, unexamined beliefs or wounds that the trigger has brought to the surface. The shadow is not something that we can simply ignore or suppress without consequence. But if you look deeper, you may realize that the anger is actually rooted in your own fear of being judged or rejected. Perhaps, at a deeper level, you feel that you are not enough, or that you are constantly seeking validation from others. The remark becomes the catalyst that activates this deeper wound. It is a powerful force, and it shapes the way we interact with the world and with others. They are messages from the unconscious, guiding us toward the parts of ourselves that still need healing. Every emotional wound, every frustration, every irritation is an opportunity to learn more about ourselves. Rather than reacting automatically, we can choose to explore these feelings, to understand where they come from, and to decide whether we want to continue living in reaction to them or whether we want to heal and integrate them. It is simply a collection of parts of ourselves that we have not yet integrated into our conscious awareness. These parts may contain our deepest fears, insecurities, unresolved pain, or even aspects of ourselves that we consider socially unacceptable. The shadow can hold our greatest potential for growth and transformation, but only if we are willing to face it. If we continue to run from it, to deny its existence, or to project it onto others, we will continue to live in reaction, driven by unconscious patterns that limit our potential. In fact, much of our emotional reactivity, our triggers, and our sense of inner conflict can be traced back to unresolved issues that exist in the shadow. The irritation we feel when someone criticizes us, the anger that arises when our plans are disrupted, or the fear that bubbles up in the face of uncertainty, are all manifestations of the shadow's influence. But here's the key. The shadow is not inherently bad. The process of shadow work is the process of turning inward to confront these hidden aspects of ourselves. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. Shadow work is not about fixing or eliminating these parts of ourselves. It is about integrating them, bringing them into the light of conscious awareness, so that we can see them clearly, understand their influence, and ultimately free ourselves from their grip. When we begin the practice of shadow work, we start by observing our emotional responses to various situations and people. For example, if a colleague makes a passive-aggressive remark and you find yourself seething with anger, it might seem that the remark is the cause of your distress. Through shadow work, we begin to understand that our emotional responses are not random. This process of self-reflection and self-awareness is what leads to inner mastery. The more we engage in shadow work, the more we begin to recognize patterns in our behavior that were once unconscious. One of the most powerful realizations that comes from shadow work is that our external world is a reflection of our inner world. For example, if you find yourself constantly frustrated by people who are rude or inconsiderate, it might be because you have unresolved issues around your own. Shadow work ultimately leads to a profound shift in perspective. It is important to understand that shadow work is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. It is about embracing our imperfections and learning to respond to life with greater awareness, compassion, and resilience. The true nature of freedom, as we move further along the path of self, we begin to realize that the greatest freedom we can experience is not found in external achievements or control over the world around us, but in our ability to control our inner world. This realization shifts everything. It is the moment we stop giving power to the world and start taking full responsibility for our own emotional and mental state. People with an internal locus of control believe that they have control over their own actions, emotions, and responses, regardless of the external circumstances. They understand that while they cannot always control what happens to them, they can always control how they respond. It is the realization that nothing outside of you has the power to disturb your peace, unless you allow it. In fact, it means that we care more deeply because we are no longer at the mercy of outside forces. We engage with life from a place of awareness and strength rather than from a place of fear or reactivity. We no longer feel the need to control others or the situations around us. because we recognize that true control lies within us. Detachment does not mean becoming emotionally numb or indifferent. Rather, it means releasing the grip that external circumstances have on our emotional state. It means not allowing the ups and downs of life to dictate our sense of peace or something. But when we begin to master ourselves, we realize that our sense of worth does not come from others, it comes from within. We stop seeking external validation because we understand that we are already enough. Just as we are, life is inherently uncertain, and when we accept this uncertainty, we free ourselves from the fear of the unknown. We stop trying to predict the future or control the outcomes, and instead, we allow ourselves to be open to whatever life brings. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent. It means we trust in our ability to adapt, learn, and grow, regardless of what the future holds. This doesn't mean we stop caring about others or building meaningful connections. It means that we no longer rely on others to define ourselves. We realize that we have everything we need within us to face whatever challenges come our way. We stop waiting for external circumstances to align before we take action, and instead, we take bold steps forward, knowing that the path will unfold as we go. This sense of trust in ourselves and in life is what gives us the strength to move forward, even in the face of fear or uncertainty. We are free to love and be loved without fear of rejection or abandonment. When we let go of the illusion of control, we also let go of the illusion of separation. We stop seeing ourselves as separate from others, from nature, or from the universe. Instead, we begin to see ourselves as part of the greater whole. This interconnectedness fosters a deep sense of peace and harmony as we realize that we are all part of the same cosmic dance, moving together toward greater understanding and unity. When we practice detachment, we can still care deeply about things, but we no longer let them control how we feel. We no longer feel the need to fight against the flow of life, because we trust that everything is unfolding as it should. True freedom comes when we realize that we are not here to control life, but to experience it fully without fear, without attachment, and with an open heart. Gratitude helps shift our focus from what is lacking or what is outside of our control to what we already have. By focusing on the positive aspects of our lives, we begin to attract more of the same. Gratitude helps us stay grounded in the present moment, rather than constantly striving for a future that may never arrive. When we are truly grateful for what we have, we are no longer looking for external sources of happiness or fulfillment. We learn to find joy in the here and now, regardless of what is happening around us. This doesn't mean that we become emotionless or indifferent. It means that we stop being controlled by our emotions. In the past, we may have believed that success was the ultimate goal in life, the thing that would bring us happiness and fulfillment. But as we deepen our understanding of true freedom, we realize that success is not an endpoint, it's part of the journey. When we stop attaching our happiness to the idea of success and start finding joy in the process of growth and discovery, we become free from the pressure to constantly achieve. We no longer chase after success for the sake of external validation or the hope that it will somehow fill the emptiness inside us. We stop fighting against the current, and instead, we learn to ride it. Opportunities come to us without the desperation or struggle that once accompanied them. Relationships become more harmonious because we are no longer projecting our insecurities or fears onto others. Success, rather than being something we chase after, starts to unfold naturally because we are no longer attached to specific outcomes. We learn to experience them fully without allowing them to take over our actions, our thoughts, or our decisions. It means that we stop tying our sense of self-worth and happiness to external achievements. Instead of trying to force things to go our way, we begin to trust in our ability to handle whatever life throws at us. We develop an inner resilience that allows us to stay grounded. Even when everything around us seems chaotic or uncertain, we stop fearing failure, because we understand that failure is just another stepping stone toward growth and learning. This awareness is a game. It transforms the way we experience life because it removes the illusion that we are victims of circumstance. Instead, we begin to see that we are the creators of our own experience. The external circumstances may continue to change, but our ability to remain centered, calm, and in control of ourselves is the true marker of freedom. Most people live their lives as though their happiness and peace depend on the world around them. They believe that if they could only control their circumstances, if they could get the job they want, earn the money they desire, gain the approval of others, or avoid conflict, then they would be happy and at peace. But what happens when life inevitably disrupts these carefully laid plans? Most people would feel defensive, angry, or hurt by such comments. But someone who has mastered the art of self-control and inner peace would not be shaken by this. They might notice the comments, but they would not allow them to dictate how they feel or behave. They might respond calmly, without becoming defensive or reactive, because they understand that the words of others have no power over them unless they choose to give it. What happens when the promotion falls through, when relationships face challenges, or when the unexpected occurs? For most people, this is when the cracks begin to show. Their emotional stability collapses, and they fall into a state of frustration, anger, or sadness. This is because their peace was never truly anchored in themselves. It was dependent on external circumstances. This is where the concept of internal locus of control becomes essential. Imagine walking into a room full of people who are criticizing you. This is the true nature of freedom, the ability to remain peaceful and centered, regardless of what happens in the world. When we stop reacting to the world and start responding consciously, we become unshakable. This does not mean we stop caring about things. The irony is that when we stop trying to control every aspect of life, we often find that life begins to flow more effortlessly. This shift in perspective doesn't mean that we stop pursuing goals, or that we stop caring about the things that matter to us. One of the key aspects of maintaining this sense of freedom is practicing detachment, not detachment from life, but detachment from the outcomes we expect from it. Take, for example, the idea of success. This understanding also extends to relationships. Often, we seek validation, approval, or love from others in order to feel worthy or secure. Another key practice that supports our journey to freedom is the cultivation of gratitude. True freedom also comes from embracing uncertainty. The more we try to control every aspect of life, the more we resist the natural flow of events. When we embrace uncertainty, we also learn to trust ourselves. Finally, true freedom comes from understanding that we are not separate from the world around us. We are interconnected with everything and everyone. In this state of awareness, we no longer see life as a struggle, but as a journey of discovery and growth.